Hello, welcome back. Christopher Taylor with Sovereign Harmony. Good to see you again. Told you I'd be back in a couple weeks to talk about the eclipses. So they're coming up. Today is Tuesday, January 23rd, 2018. So we're moving right along through January already. And so these eclipses that I mentioned in my previous video for the new year, I'm talking about the energies of 2018 in general. They are coming up. One is actually next week. On the 31st, it'll be a lunar eclipse, and this will be in Aquarius, in Leo, opposite Aquarius, and it will also be what's called a blue moon. People are making a big deal out of that. I mean, that's, when you have two full moons in one calendar month, like we had the first one was January 1st, we're going to have one January 31st, so it only happens in these long, 31-day months typically. And once in a blue moon, and that's what we mean by that. But it doesn't have too much significance considering the Julian calendar is not exactly, wired according to any kind of natural cycles. So once in a while we get two full moons in a month. It doesn't mean too much, but it's also, you might be hearing about it being a super moon, and all that means is that the moon is a little bit closer to the Earth than it is on average. So again, that is not all that rare. But I guess the idea of having a super blue moon that's a lunar eclipse is pretty rare. So we'll give you that one. But we don't need to read too much into the blueness or the superness, I don't think. But it's a lunar eclipse nonetheless. And lunar eclipses are pretty powerful, so we will talk about that. Also, the next eclipse after that will be February 15th. February 15th will be the solar eclipse, and this one will be in Aquarius. About 27 degrees Aquarius or so. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these more specifically. But first, just to review, so my last video, I mentioned that 2018, really the general energy of this year, has a lot to do with the momentum of previous years and what we've been building toward, even, on maybe non-physical levels, what we've been thinking about, planning in the back of our minds for our lives, etc. With this being a year of actually finally getting it done, the manifestation. And then we talked about Uranus and Taurus, very earthy sign, Saturn's in Capricorn, another earthy sign. So there's a lot in the air with regards to getting it done and finally jumping forward with whoever we are, because we've come that far as learning who we are. And so we're here, and so it's already underway. We're already moving through this. It'll get ever more tangible, ever more, toward the energy of wanting to accomplish this year, wanting to finish things, okay? And it's interesting because if you remember back in August, we had the last set of eclipses, okay? And so this set of eclipses is related to that one because it's still in that same general energy, that Leo Aquarius axis, essentially. And so that big one, the one that was a big deal in the media, and people were getting hotel rooms and whatnot across the U.S. I mean, this was a rare total solar eclipse on August 21st, 2017, that went, clear across the lower 48 of the U.S. And that was the first time that happened in a while. So that was pretty rare. And if you remember, or if you want to look back at the previous videos there, that eclipse had a lot to do with the heart opening. Okay, and so the time from that eclipse till about now, it's all been about clearing and opening the heart. And, clearing and opening the heart for what, right? And that's where the eclipse that next week we have coming on in. And today's what, Tuesday the 23rd? So this will be next Wednesday, about 8 days from now, the 31st. So with the intensity of this energy, we might start feeling this within the next few days. So even this weekend, as soon as this weekend, which is the weekend of 27th, 28th of January, we're going to start feeling some of the effects of this lunar eclipse in Leo. So remember, there was a solar eclipse in Leo that opened the energy, opened the heart, helped it clear out. And so now it's sort of, think of it like an empty cup, empty glass waiting to be filled. And this lunar eclipse energy is, in Leo, is this energy of sort of like a flood filling up that emptiness, or not emptiness, but that space, okay? That space that's been created with that openness. And so you can think of the energy coming in the next week or so, and rippling onward for a few months into the early summer, as this energy of the cup being filled. So we emptied our cup, opened it up, starting in August of 2017, and now it's about to be filled in. And so what we were opening to was this alignment with our true expression, our highest expression, what sings to our soul, what we can do with our lives that really aligns with our hearts and our soul's plan in a way. Okay, and so what we see coming in, along with this lunar eclipse here on January 31st, again it ripples several months out, is our life kind of filling in the blanks, if you want to call it that. And so we could find ourselves, feeling a lot more in the heart space, involved in our lives in a way that's much more visceral, and that we're vulnerable, but in a way that we're enjoying ourselves. And so it's about involving ourselves in activities and with people, aligning ourselves with other people that are going to help elevate that for us. Okay, and so we're going to see this as we move through late winter into the spring and into the early summer, this cup filling up. Okay, and it's interesting because along with this lunar eclipse, we have Venus conjunct the Sun. It'll still be an orb, which means Venus is going to be near the south node of the moon. And so the way I see this is there's a real sense of, in alignment with what I just spoke about, the past coming back, in a way, the past coming back. And that's, again, what some things we planted in the summer of 2017 finally coming into fruition in 2018. Okay, and it's also about finally releasing any kind of karmic attachments to activities, people, things, and really recognizing who and what to align with here moving through the first half of 2018. Okay, and so there could be some themes for people of having to release relationships, having to release money sources, jobs, etc., like that. But this would only happen if these are totally out of alignment with the true soul's intention and plan. And it's really just making way for that filling of that cup, that heart, expansion, and that is, associated with the proper alignments. And you got to make room for those proper alignments. And we might be surprised by the depth of our feelings. Okay, and that's where the next eclipse comes in, and that's going to be the February 15th eclipse. That's the solar eclipse in Aquarius. This one will be squaring Jupiter in Scorpio and in a sextile to Uranus in Aries. And so speaking to this idea of the overwhelm of feelings and the depth of our experience, this will be part of this theme as well, with Jupiter and Scorpio tightly squaring this this new moon, or this solar eclipse, February 15th. And so when I look at this eclipse with the themes with Uranus and Aquarius, it's really a theme around our futures, the direction of our futures, potentially taking on different directions, in surprise directions. But these surprise directions aren't going to be against what is aligned with our soul. It's going to be for it. So it's really maybe coming into some clarity around how our egos have thought about a plan for our lives, but then our hearts come in and sort of remind us of what we really want for our lives. Okay, and so that can be one of the parts of this experience over this first half of 2018 too, is as our heart fills up, overwhelms with this intensity of feeling and depth, recognizing the directions that we are now headed because of that, and what we're leaving behind that was really only associated with our ego, with what our ego is trying to set up. Our ego wanted our life to look like this, and that's supposed to look like this, and that's supposed to look like that, and I want this because I'm this, and all these identifications that we might be releasing as we step into a more authentic expression of our soul on the earth plane. And that's what the themes with Uranus and Aquarius all have to do with, is it could be some sudden awarenesses, this, suddenly I see, wow, like what was I creating that had, what was I running from in some cases, because a lot of times the ego is protecting the heart, right? And so there's basically we're entering an energy here with these eclipses where the heart is filling and going to be front and center, and it has to be top priority. It has to be top priority. And so that's going to knock out the ego, knock out those karmic situations and people out of our lives pretty quickly. It's going to be some pretty quick adjustments on that level. And it's all for the intention of helping us stay focused on whatever the tangible things we're here to work on, whatever those may be. Because 2018, again, is about that. And so a lot of our ego-based involvements and ideas for the future are distractions from what our true hearts are headed toward. And so there's going to be a lot of clearing and realignment happening here in the next few months. Okay, so that's how I see it. That's how I see these energies for the eclipses. Generally speaking, I don't want to take too much time today. Keep it pretty short. But this will lead us also into late March to mid-April when we'll have our next Mercury retrograde. So that's when I'll be back here in probably early mid-March, speaking about Mercury retrograde in Aries. That's where it'll be in late March, early to mid-April. But I won't get into that too much here. For now, focus on these energies of the eclipses. Not so much that in the next few weeks all this stuff I said is going to happen, but the energy shift toward that direction over the next several months begins here in the next few weeks. So expect us to have an experience of the heart filling and the awareness of what we actually want and how that adjusts our life direction in a certain way that not only provokes our vulnerability, but it also provokes our excitement of the new possibilities that lie ahead because of these realizations. And so it feels very positive to me, despite the potential for release and loss that might have to accompany this because of anyone hanging on to egoic creations, whether that be jobs that aren't really aligned with who we are, that we think we needed to have to follow a certain plan, or relationships that we have to leave behind because we got into them before we shifted into who we are now, something like that, but then immediate replacements for these jobs and relationships and things. So the idea being the awareness, the realization of what is true and authentic, and then taking the leap toward it, trusting that again our heart is the number one priority, and going with whatever changes in our life have to occur to support that. And that would be the best way to sum up the two eclipses together. So anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. You can contact me at my website, sovereignharmony.com. You can also comment below. That's just fine too. I enjoy your comments and feedback. And if you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, Christopher Taylor, Sovereign Harmony. Enjoy the eclipses, and I'd love to hear what goes on for you. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.